She wiped tables, carried trays, and listened as officers laughed at her. To them, she was nobody. What they didn't know was that she outranked every single man in that room. The cafeteria buzzed with the usual lunchtime chaos. Trays clattered against metal tables. Soldiers in crisp green fatigues laughed, argued, and shoved past one another in a flurry of motion and noise. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered faintly, casting a harsh glare across the long hall. In one corner, a woman in plain clothes moved silently. Faded jeans, a simple blouse, and dark brown skin glinting faintly under the fluorescent light. Her hair pulled back neatly into a low bun. She carried trays stacked carefully, wiped up spills, and offered polite smiles to the soldiers who, more often than not, ignored her. Her name was Evelyn Carter. To those around her, she was a civilian volunteer, invisible in the chaos of the mess hall. Just another woman serving lunch, unnoticed and unremarkable. But Evelyn's calm, deliberate movements, her piercing eyes, and the quiet authority in her posture hid a truth that none of them could imagine. At the far end of the room, Colonel Stanton leaned back in his chair. His chest was decorated with more medals than he likely earned, and he smirked at the sight of Evelyn moving among the soldiers. "Look at that," he muttered to the officers beside him. "Probably never done a push-up in her life. Yet here she is, wiping our tables like she belongs." A few chuckled, glancing at each other. A younger lieutenant added, "Next thing you know, she'll be giving us orders." The laughter rolled across the cafeteria like a wave. Evelyn heard every word. She didn't flinch. She pressed the rag tighter into her palm and blinked once, almost imperceptibly, letting the laughter wash over her without acknowledgement. Major Reynolds, stationed a few tables away, watched quietly. He was younger than most of the officers around him, known for observing before acting. He had noticed something unusual about Evelyn over the past week. The way she moved, calculated, deliberate, almost military. The subtle way her eyes scanned every corner, noting details others missed. The way she handled ridicule, not with anger or fear, but with an effortless, controlled composure. It wasn't just discipline, it was experience. Later that afternoon, Evelyn made her way toward the motor pool. The wide garage echoed with the low hum of idling vehicles and clanging tools. Rows of army vehicles stood like silent beasts, their metal surfaces reflecting the waning sunlight. Evelyn had offered to bring coffee to the mechanics, a simple gesture she insisted on, despite polite refusals. As she poured steaming coffee into paper cups, her eyes fell on a Humvee with a loose panel. She stepped closer, hand tracing the gap, her lips barely moving as she muttered, "This would never pass inspection." A young soldier nearby blinked in surprise. Ma'am? You know something about these rigs?" Evelyn gave a faint smile. "Let's just say, I've seen better maintenance on the field." The words hung in the air. The young soldier tilted his head. The way she said, "the field," carried weight, authority, and experience. Across the garage, Stanton barked, "Hey, civilian, don't touch government property. Stick to pouring coffee." Evelyn nodded politely, retreating with her tray. Stanton's eyes lingered, suspicion flickering in the corner of his mind. Something about her didn't add up, but he brushed it off. He had no patience for guessing games. By early evening, Evelyn passed the training yard. Soldiers were running formation drills under the fading orange glow of the setting sun. She leaned against the chain-link fence, silently observing. They moved in unison, boots kicking up clouds of dust. Orders barked from sergeants were precise, but not precise enough. One unit broke formation, leaving an open flank exposed. Evelyn's lips pressed together. "Your left's exposed," she called out, her voice calm but firm. The soldiers froze. The sergeant barked, "Stay out of this, lady!" But when he turned back to inspect the formation, he realized she was right. A crack in the line, subtle but critical. He swallowed hard, muttering under his breath. Reynolds, standing nearby, caught her eye. She gave him a brief, almost imperceptible nod, before walking away without another word. That single gesture carried a silent weight, acknowledgement of his attention to detail. By the end of the week, whispers filled the corridors. Who was she? Why did she move with precision no civilian should possess? Why did she notice what even seasoned sergeants missed? Colonel Stanton's patience finally snapped. It was Friday. The cafeteria was packed shoulder to shoulder, trays clattering, laughter echoing. Stanton decided it was time to put Evelyn in her place once and for all. He slammed his tray down. The metallic clang silenced some of the chatter. He pointed toward Evelyn, who was quietly stacking trays. "You know what I don't understand?" Stanton bellowed. "Why we let civilians play soldier in here, walking around, acting like they belong, taking notes on our training, pointing out our mistakes, like they know better than the rest of us who actually served." Laughter rippled, but Evelyn remained still, calm. He took a step closer. "Tell me, ma'am, do you even know the difference between a platoon and a squad? Or are you just here because you didn't have anywhere else to volunteer?" She didn't respond. Her face remained calm. She set the tray down and straightened her posture. "Nothing to say?" Stanton pressed. "That's what I thought. Just another nobody who thinks wiping tables makes her part of the army family." The room erupted in laughter again. Some soldiers shifted uncomfortably, aware of the growing tension. And then, a sharp, distinctive ringtone cut through the noise. Not a regular phone tone, not a personal ringtone. A secure, encrypted signal used only for the highest levels of command. Every officer froze. They knew that sound. The ringtone was coming from Evelyn's pocket. The laughter died instantly. Evelyn's hand moved deliberately, pulling a sleek, encrypted phone from her pocket. She answered without hesitation. Her voice was steady, commanding, echoing across the silent hall. "This is General Carter." Gasps filled the room. Trays fell to the floor. Forks clattered against plates. Every soldier who had mocked, laughed, or ignored her now stared in disbelief. Her tone shifted as she listened. "Yes, patch me through to the Pentagon, now." She stepped past Stanton, who froze, face drained of color. Soldiers scrambled aside, clearing a path. Evelyn walked with calm authority toward the operations office. Inside the operations office, screens glowed with maps and strategic data. Evelyn pressed the phone to her ear. Her voice cut through the room like steel. "Divert the 82nd to secure the perimeter. Naval support on standby. Yes, we cannot afford a miscalculation. Inform Allied Command. I'll brief them in 15 minutes." Every officer present watched in stunned silence. Stanton remained frozen in the doorway, unable to comprehend the situation. Evelyn hung up. Her gaze swept across the room. "I'll need full situational reports within the hour," she said. "And Major Reynolds..." Her eyes locked on him. "I want you leading the logistics review. Your attention to detail hasn't gone unnoticed." Reynolds blinked, then snapped to attention. "Yes, ma'am." The hours that followed were tense. Under Evelyn's direction, what could have turned into chaos was resolved with flawless precision. But the base itself had changed. The perception of leadership, authority, and respect had shifted. The next morning, Evelyn stood in the briefing room. Rows of officers sat rigidly facing her. Stanton sat among them, stripped of arrogance, his face pale and uneasy. Her voice was calm but firm. "You all learned something yesterday," she began. "Some of you laughed at me, dismissed me, judged me based on appearances. To you, I was invisible. A woman with no uniform, no voice, no worth. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across every face. But respect isn't about who wears the medals or who has the loudest voice. True leadership is about character, about recognizing strength, even when it's quiet, about treating every person with dignity, because you never know who you're really speaking to. The room remained silent, hanging on her every word. Her gaze found Stanton. "And Colonel Stanton," she said evenly, "you've forgotten that respect flows both ways. Effective immediately, you're relieved of your duties pending review." Stanton's face flushed red. He tried to speak, but Evelyn's eyes silenced him. She turned back to the room. "Remember this day. Let it change the way you lead, the way you speak, the way you treat those who seem beneath you. Because the measure of a soldier is not in how they command the powerful, but in how they respect the powerless." She stepped away from the podium. The officers rose, not because they were ordered, but because they understood. They owed their respect. To them, she was nobody. Just a woman serving food, carrying trays, wiping tables. But with a single phone call, she revealed a truth that shook the entire base. Respect is not given to rank or medals. It is owed to every human being. If you believe respect should be unconditional, type respect in the comments.